Now, there's been a lot of discussion about immigration, especially here in Europe, and it's used as a Rorschach test. And if you're not in favor of unchecked mass immigration with no limit on it, then you must be a far-right bigot. You're on the wrong side of history, you're an evil person because you have the wrong ideas. There is absolutely no criticism whatsoever that can be brought to immigration, and the only reason that the conversation is even allowed is because, number one, it ousts the far-righters, and number two, it allows decent people to say that they want even more immigration. Usually not in their backyard, though, or Martha's Vineyard. But anywhere else is fine. Now, this conversation seems to have taken a new turn over what happened in a town in the United States called Springfield. So Springfield is a town that has around 58,000 people living in it. And recently, as many as 15,000 other immigrants find themselves living in the town. So like a huge population increase. And this is happening despite the fact that the people there vote Republican. There was no polling, no referendum, no questioning whether or not people want as many immigrants. It just happened overnight, and now I see content creators explaining that it's a good thing. Now, I don't know who they are explaining that it's a good thing for. Are they explaining for the people from Springfield? Or are they explaining it to other people who don't live in Springfield? But again, as I mentioned, I don't see any journalists or any of these content creators wanting to also live in Springfield. And despite the fact that I have been lectured for years that gentrification is wrong and gentrification is bad, it seems that when it's about immigrants, it's good. Although I would also say this, there were a couple of articles that were condemning Americans from California moving and living over into Mexico because the people who lived in Mexico were abhorred over the fact that now no one speaks Spanish on the streets and the prices are going up and they do not appreciate Americans moving in droves. That appeared in the press for a little bit and then disappeared. So I guess like there can be some criticisms to immigrations. But there are many criticisms to critics of immigration, and here we have a content creator. I've never watched him before, apparently goes by the name of Mr. Jonathan Casey. And he is making the point why the immigrants are saving Springfield, Ohio, right? Like Springfield, Ohio was a place that was about to be destroyed, I suppose. But the immigrants from Haiti, through their grace and their charity, are now saving this town. So let's hear what the argument is.
Immigrants from Haiti are saving Springfield, Ohio. I looked into Springfield. Over the past 30 straight years, its population was in decline. It went from a population of 80,000 in the 1980s to about 58,000 a couple years ago.
So in other words, here's like 15,000 units of GDP in order to save the small town.
They turned the city around, they got some investment, they got some businesses to move in and create jobs. What did that bring? It brought people who wanted jobs.
So none of those 58,000 people wanted any jobs at all. Like all of a sudden, the United States of America is filled with aristocrats. Like no one wants to work. Everyone wants someone else to work for them. It's just that they themselves would never, right? I don't know how America managed to do it through history. Like when was the country founded? 1,700, right? How did they manage up until now? But what I find it fascinating about America is that if you have people that will say, yeah, you know what? I'll pick your cotton for $15 an hour. I think that's a fair price. I mean, I looked at the market. This is how much it's usually charged in the country. This is how much I'm willing to do it for. And obviously, like, the person is willing to negotiate. Like, is willing to pick the cotton for $13. But the company goes like, nah, with a voice resembling that of a horse that's high on ivermectin. And we're going to bring all these immigrants and they're going to work for $7 an hour. And then you have the left-leaning people that are supposed to be pro-worker and for the unions and whatnot, and they're saying, oh, wow, that's fucking based. That is so capitalist of you. Oh, wow, the big corporation, that's just savvy. That's just economically savvy. And you know what else they want? They don't want legal immigrants, because legal immigrants have rights, right? No. They want the type of people that are in limbo, so that if they are forcing them to work overtime, or they're not paying them properly, or they're scamming them in any way, shape, or form, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Are they going to go to the cops and complain? It's like, no, because then ICE is going to deport them, right? So, like, the best corporate employee in the wage cage is the immigrant that came there undocumented so that they can always be threatened with deportation if they misbehave. They will always support the political party that's in favor of even more immigration. And, of course, they can work for minimum wage. Sometimes even below that. Again, when are they going to complain? And this is why the left doesn't even want them to learn English. In fact, they think that learning the language of the place you live in is probably akin to racismus. Like, no, seriously, imagine if you go to Saudi Arabia and you want to live there and you don't know the language. And if anyone suggests that maybe you should learn it, they call him a racist because they want you to remain ignorant. It's almost like they don't want you to read books, right? I mean, you can't actually, like physically. If you don't speak the language, you can't fucking read in that language. So imagine if you actually have an emergency or you have like some issues or trouble. Like you can't really take care of yourself, can you, if you can't speak the language? But again, this is what the left is, right? Like a full compassion for the working class, I suppose. The other thing that I notice is that they don't really talk about Springfield, Ohio. They talk about Economic Zone -475. Like, this is what cities and countries and nationalities are supposed to be like. They're supposed to be economic zones where transactions happen. See, right-wingers, we view a place as, you know, something with heritage where you have the culture specific to that place, the behaviors of the people that live in that place, and we're attached to that. That's why we care about the community. But left-leaning people, they view humans as human resources where, like, if you replace everyone, like, it's still fine, it's still the same shit. And because they view themselves as citizens of the world. Like, if something goes bad and they don't like it anymore, they just pack up and leave. Except for Martha's Vineyard, for some reason. Like, Martha's Vineyard is this sacred place where... And it's like this leftist mecca. Even if they don't live there, they still like it. They still worship it. But here's what I find interesting, right? Like, imagine if you have a liberal cat lady and she's in the age of 45 and she's living home alone and you have a representative from the city hall coming to her house, knocking at the door and saying, look, lady, we noticed that your house is in decline. You didn't have any kids. You're not doing very well economically. You're going to become old soon. So what we're going to do is we're going to have 5 homeless people from the street live in with you now. In order to save your household, in order to save the economy, we're going to just bring all these people. And once they're in your house, they obviously are going to want to work. Like, they're obviously going to start cleaning and they're going to get themselves a job and they're going to contribute to your household. And we also want to bug your phone. Like, we want to put a microphone in your house. We want to bug your phone because we want to make sure that you don't say anything offensive. That you don't think in a way that's contrary to what the city hall wants to do with your house. So if you say anything that we don't like, we're going to fine you. And if you say something that we really don't like posting emojis on Facebook, then we can even get you arrested. Now, the interesting thing that even the liberals would understand, well, that's a little bit too much. Like, we are citizens of the world, but, like, what nonsense is this, right? But for some reason, they understand that it's nonsense when you apply it at the home level. But if you apply it at a community level, then it's fine. You just don't apply it into the small area. It's weird, isn't it? It's so fucking weird. Like, the thing is, like, I understand if you're for mass migration, but what I don't understand is, like, why can't you understand the arguments from the other side? Like why can't you see that if you live in a small town and overnight you have like tens of thousands of people coming in, then the infrastructure is strained, the logistics are going to suffer, like the culture of the town is going to change. And what's even more interesting is that you didn't even ask the people that live there if they want to be saved, right? Like usually the essence of liberalism is the act of consent. Like, it should be voluntary. It should be consensual most of the time. But for some reason, this time it wasn't. And people are coming up making TikTok videos about it. Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.